Hey guys, this is just a quick video to go through an explanation of your project for this marking period. Again, the project is due November 11th. That's the week after break, that Wednesday. That's Veterans Day. And again, I talked about it a little bit, but I just want to go through it a little bit in a little bit more detail with you. So this project the goal is to do a pricing analysis on some rent-a-car options for a week trip. It says the Green family is planning a week vacation to Florida. They plan on traveling throughout Florida, so they need a rent-a-car for the trip. Through some research, they have found the following options. So if you look here, we have 6 different rent-a-car options. Now, I'm going to go through the explanation and then I'll come back and look at the equations. It says part 1 for the pricing analysis. The Greens do not know how far they're going to drive during their trip, but they estimate that it will be between 500 and 1,000 miles. They must decide which plan to choose. To analyze the pricing options, you must 1. Write a linear equation or piecewise function that you will use to calculate the total cost of each of the pricing plans. Use C for total cost and use M for miles. For number 2, it says to create a table of values showing the total cost of a 1 week rental. So again, 1 week, I wrote it here, 7 days. So not 5 days. I want to do the whole week. So 7 days. And it says for each pricing plan at 500, 600, 700, all the way up to 1,000 miles at 100-mile increments. 3, you're going to do one graph. And on that one graph, you'll have the total cost of all 6 rental car plans. I added another one this year. So all 6 rental car plans based on the miles driven. Place miles on the x-axis and total cost on the y-axis. I actually did the whole graph with the grid for you, so you guys just have to graph the lines. You don't have to worry about labeling any of the axes, or anything like that. And then for number 4, you need to write a little persuasive essay, basically just telling the Green family which company to pick or which rent-a-car company to go with. And ideally you want... Okay, so after that, you guys need to do a little essay, just basically telling the Green family which plan to pick. I want you to indicate where some of the lines might intersect. I want you to indicate in that conclusion which one is the most expensive plan and which one they should definitely not pick. And I want you to identify which one you think is the best pricing plan for the Greens. And basically, the best plan is going to be the one where, they would spend the less money. We're going to assume the cars are equivalent and there's nothing significant in that regard. So let's look through a few of the elements. So on page 2 here, this is the rubric. Make sure that when you turn in your project, you have your name up here and you just turn in the rubric with it. That's how you'll see how many points everything is worth. When it totals up, it ends up being 103 points. But I'm just going to take it out of 100. So it'll be like 3 extra points you can get on the project because it'll only be out of 100 in PowerSchool. And let's just go through the different plans here. So I'm going to help you with maybe 2 of the equations, and then you guys will have to come up with the others on your own, kind of using the same concept and etc. that we did. All right, so I'm going to go to Fabulous Rent-A-Car because that's the first rent-a-car company. All right, so if we go back to Fabulous Rent-A-Car, back up at the top, it says for this plan, it's $329 per week with unlimited mileage. So if we go back to look at the equations, it says to use C for the total cost, and it says to use M for miles. So for this thing, it's going to be unlimited mileage. So think to yourself, what does unlimited mileage means? That means that you will not be charged for the mileage. So basically, we're going to put 0M. So we have like our total cost equals 0M because we're not paying anything for the mileage. Plus, you're paying $329 per week. So that would be the equation for Fabulous Rent-A-Car. So we would go back to our table. I'm just going to, again, I'll fill out 1 or 2 of these with you guys today. For the Fabulous Rent-A-Car, the equation is going to be C equals 0M, because there's no cost for the mileage, plus the flat fee of the $329 for the week. And then in your table, this is how this would look. 0M plus 329. And then you need to evaluate this for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1,000 miles. So I would put 0 times 500. The table must be filled in if you expect credit. Table must be filled in if you want credit. So it's going to be 0 times the 500 plus 329. 0 times the 600 plus 329. 0 times the 700 plus 329. All the way to the end of the table. Then over here for the cost, 0 times 500 is 0. So it's just going to end up being 329. 329, 329, yada, yada, yada. All right, so that's the first plan. Now let's move on and look at another one. We have Barry Rent-A-Car. We have Steelers Rule Rent-A-Car. Algebra Rules Rent-A-Car. All these fabulous things you guys know are amazing. But let's go to the next one. The next one was Barry Rent-A-Car. So for Barry Rent-A-Car, it says $219 per week plus 12 cents per mile. So you guys need to think about how that one's going to look. I'm going to help you with, I'm going to do algebra rules with you because that's one that people tend to make a mistake on. So for algebra rules, this one has two things to think about. First of all, it says $40 per day plus 3 cents per mile. So if it's $40 per day, you can't just put 40. The cost equals 40 plus the 3 cents per mile because it's per day and they need the car for more than one day. So if you just put 40, that's only getting the car for one day. So since they need the car for 7 days, we're going to have to do 40 times 7 plus then the mileage. So this is going to be another issue. It says plus 3 cents per mile. Now, a common mistake with students is that they'll put 3M. If you put 3M, that's $3 a mile. 3 cents per mile. Then we have students who'll do this, 0.3M. That's also wrong because 0.3 is 30 cents a mile. Because think about like if it's $2.30, this is that. And this is $2.03. So we don't want this. We don't want this. For 3 cents a mile, it has to be 0.03. Okay, so what this equation would look like, I would clarify, I would probably simplify it a little bit. You could leave it like this, but I'm going to write this final equation as 280 because that's what the 40 times 7 is. And then plus 0.03M. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my table, and this is for algebra rules Rent-A-Car. So let me go back to my table here for algebra rules. And for algebra rules, the equation is going to be C for cost equals 280 plus 0.03M. And then again, we'd have to plug in each one of these things. All right, so for this one, and now we would go through and fill in the table. So again, in the middle, we put the equation 280 plus 0.03M. And then we plug in. It's going to be 280 plus 0.03 times 500. 280 plus 0.03 times 600. And we would go through and fill out the whole table. And we would do the math. So 280 plus 0.03 times 500 is 295. Then I would do 280 plus 0.03 times 600, and I get 298, etc. And I would finish all the data on that table. Okay, so that's how you should be going about figuring out the equations. And I just want to highlight one other thing, and then we'll look at the graphs. If you look at the bottom two, Period 2 Rent-A-Car and Just Drive Rent-A-Car, those two both are piecewise functions. So we spent a significant amount of time on the piecewise functions. And remember, for the piecewise functions, those are the ones that'll look something like C equals, or in this case, because we're talking about cost. And you'll have like the separate equation. So for period 2 rent-a-car, it says $180 a week plus 20 cents per mile up to 800 miles. So you need to think about, you know, what that restriction is going to look like, if it's greater than, if it's less than or equal to, etc. You need to come up with that piecewise function. So it'll be like 2 separate equations. I'm just making something up. I don't want to help you guys with this one. So let's say it was 2x plus 5. And that would be when x is, sorry, I'm just trying to erase this. It'll be when x is less than or equal to 500. Again, I'm just making things up. And then the other equation could be when x is greater than 500, and it's 6x minus 10. Who knows? So these could be something like what the piecewise function looks like. So what I do just want to make sure you guys do when you're doing the table, note that the table for the piecewise functions, I gave you guys an extra space because that cutoff value is going to need to go twice. It'll need to go for the top equation, and it'll also need to go for the bottom equation where one is closed, one is open, you know, given the situation. So that will be what you have to take into consideration for the bottom 2 equations. All right, so let me just go to the graph and give you an idea of what the graph should look like. So for the graph, again, here is the graph. I did the graph for you. To be honest, the last one I think goes like a little off the scale because I just made that one up later after I already made the graph. And I didn't feel like making a new one. So you might have to just like make up a point at the end that's like kind of high up there. I'm fine with it. But it should just be one point that's off the scale that's given here. So what this is going to look like, I just want to zoom out so you can see the full graph. So down at the bottom, there's a legend. So each one of these lines should be a different color. So let's say this one's red. This one could be yellow. This one's brown or something. Blue. Purple. And let's go with green. So I should have 6 different lines on my graph. And again, I should have some type of legend. If you guys don't have colors and you're doing it in pencil, whatever the case may be, make sure you have, you can do some type of pattern with the lines. You can do like, you know, something like that. If you only have pencil or you don't have multiple colors, whatever the case may be, you could feel free to make it like some type of different pattern that I could visually see what's going on. But for this, again, then you would just plot the point. So again, I'm just completely making up values here, so don't pay me any attention. This is not correct. So let's say for Fabulous Rent-A-Car, it's 500 and then it's 290. That will be that point. 600 this, 700 this, 800 this, etc. And then this would be my line for that one. Then for Berry, let's say this one, it was yellow, so let me switch colors here. For Berry Rent-A-Car, let's say it looks something like this. Who knows? Like that's that one. The next one is here. Who knows? But you should in the end have 6 different lines. Towards the end, the last 2 are piecewise, so they should look different. You know, they should have like something like this. Maybe this is closed and it's open and then it goes like that. But the piecewise one should have the break in the graph, etc. So that's basically how our graph will look. Then again, this page is for the conclusion, just explaining to them which plan to pick. And then there's an extra little add-on, just a little bit more math here, with which hotel they should pick and which package they should pick for Disney World. So just read through those carefully to answer those questions. All right, guys, if you have any questions, I will be in my meeting room for extra help any day from 1 to 2. So feel free to stop in and have a fabulous day.